If you think the words family, city, and love sound safe, tonight you'll have to reconsider. A husband calmly claims I've been home all day while the Ring camera tells a very different story. A man in the middle of New York tries to turn a drunk girl into prey until a stranger steps in and flips the script. And an open marriage meant to save feelings ends up opening a door to insecurities that can never be closed. These are three true stories where the line between decency and disaster is as thin as the tap of a phone call. Are you ready? Don't sit too far back. Grip your phone tight, lock your door behind you, and join me as we navigate three strange crossroads of life: smooth lies, a courageous act in the night, and the high price of the try-it-out choice. Let's begin. Story 1. Husband leaves the kids home alone and cheats in the backyard. That Saturday seemed like a completely normal day, or at least I thought it was. I'm 31, my husband is 43. We have 2 kids, a 5-year-old boy and a 9-month-old girl. I had to be out almost the entire day to attend an event for a nonprofit organization where I serve on the board of directors. He was supposed to stay home with the kids. While I was at the event, I sent a few check-in texts. He replied briefly, nothing seemed unusual. But by midday when I called him, he didn't pick up. I didn't worry too much, figuring he was probably busy feeding the baby or changing a diaper. Then my mom called. Her voice sounded off. She told me my son had just called her using the kid's tablet I'd bought him. When she asked what the 2 of them were doing, he said they were watching TV. And when she asked where his dad was, he said plainly Dad's not home. She pressed him on it, even told him to go look for his dad. He ran around the house and came back saying can't find him. My daughter was still in her crib with a wet diaper and crying. Her brother was trying to soothe her, but obviously couldn't do much. I left the event immediately, calling my husband while driving home. It took nearly 10 minutes for him to answer by. Then I was almost at the house. He calmly said, "I'm home. What's wrong with you?" I told him our son had just told my mom he was alone at home with the baby. He gave a short, dismissive laugh and said, "Kids make things up." When I walked in, both kids were in the living room, still in the same clothes they'd worn that morning. My daughter's face was red from crying. I turned to my husband. "Where were you?" He repeated over and over, "I've been home the whole time." Then he threw in the most infuriating excuse: I was downstairs in the basement doing laundry, so the kids must have thought I left. I went straight down to the basement. The load in the dryer was the one I'd put in the night before. He hadn't done any laundry at all. I looked him straight in the eye and asked, "Then where were you that our son couldn't find you anywhere? How long did you leave them alone?" He kept denying it, then accused me of making drama from a kid's imagination. I was shaking with anger. I knew that without proof he'd keep treating me like I was crazy. The only proof I could think of was from our neighbor's doorbell camera. Normally, I hate airing our dirty laundry to others, but this time I didn't care. I said flatly, "Give me your phone so I can see where you were." He snapped back immediately. "No, that's my privacy." I headed for the door. He followed, trying to block me, even grabbing my arm to pull me back. I yanked my arm free and went to the neighbor's house. Thankfully, they agreed to send me the footage. I pretended to be calm when I got home, telling my husband the neighbors didn't have the video anymore and that I needed to run out to get something. In reality, I drove elsewhere to wait for the file to come through. The video showed an unfamiliar blue car pulling up right in front of our house. A blonde woman got out, walked along the side of the house, and entered through the backyard gate straight into the pool area, which is fenced off and private. They were there for exactly 23 minutes. And the moment she left, my husband called me saying he'd been home all morning. The pool area is closed for winter, but there's a small changing room and outdoor furniture. The gate is locked with a private key one my son said had gone missing from his dad's key ring right around the time he called my mom. When I showed him the proof, He grudgingly admitted she did stop by, but kept insisting I didn't leave the kids alone. In his mind, standing in the backyard still counted as being home. To me, leaving a 5-year-old to watch a 9-month-old alone absolutely meant leaving them home alone. I asked directly, "Who is she? How long has this been going on? And why would you choose to do it while the kids are home?" He didn't answer. He just sat there silent, looking at me as if I was the one in the wrong. That night I couldn't sleep. I cried until my eyes were swollen and ordered a stack of books on divorce and child custody. I knew this wasn't the first time. The next morning, he acted like nothing had happened, made coffee, asked if I wanted to go grocery shopping with him, and even planned to cook stuffed bell peppers, my favorite. I looked at him and thought, how can he act so well? I still wanted him to admit everything. Not because I wanted to reconcile, but because I wanted him just once to have the guts to tell the truth. But then it hit me. If he were the kind of man who could be decent and honest, none of this would have happened in the first place. Story 2. I saved a drunk girl from a predator in the middle of the night in New York. That night, I was only planning to head out for some quick takeout. It was close to midnight when I walked into a small deli in New York. The streets outside were quieter than usual, but inside, there was a young woman, maybe 21 or 22, leaning heavily against the counter. One glance was enough to tell she was so drunk she could barely stand. Next to her was a man, probably in his late 50s or early 60s, wearing a delivery uniform. But instead of helping her, he was leaning in close, whispering something that made my skin crawl. "Come with me. You'll feel better. I've got something for you. Drink this, and you'll be fine." The girl weakly shook her head, but he kept pushing a plastic bottle into her hand. I was too far away to see what was inside, but every instinct in me was screaming that something wasn't right. I took out my phone, called the police, and gave them the location. They said they'd be there immediately. But 10 minutes went by and no one showed up. During that time, the man pulled her out of the deli and led her down a small side street. I followed. The sight that met me made my blood run cold. He had his arm wrapped around her waist, almost dragging her along, and then he kissed her roughly. She didn't respond at all. Her eyes were glassy, unfocused, like she didn't even know where she was. I called the police again. Same response. "We're on our way." That's when I decided I couldn't just wait. As he was pulling her toward the door of an old apartment building, I stepped in front of them and asked, "Do you know her?" He flinched, took half a step back, and said, "I'm a cop." When he saw I wasn't buying it, he changed his story. "She's my sister." To add to his act, he reached into his pocket like he was about to pull out a badge or something worse. By then, adrenaline had completely taken over. I didn't back down. I turned to the girl and asked, "Who is he to you? Do you know where you are?" She looked at me with those dull, unfocused eyes and shook her head. Then she mumbled softly, "I just want to go home." I grabbed her bag out of his hand, slipped my arm around her, and started walking away. He immediately pulled out his phone and began recording us, probably planning to twist the story later. I didn't care. We walked into a brightly lit bodega nearby. The shop owner, a middle-aged man, instantly understood and handed her a bottle of water, calming her down, while I called an Uber from her phone. But the guy hadn't given up. He stood outside staring in, then stepped inside, pretending to be friendly. "Come on, let's go." Luckily, another customer, a big, heavily tattooed man, stood between him and us. Finally, after nearly 20 minutes, the police arrived. They asked him a few questions. He stammered, changed his story multiple times. They told him to leave and warned him not to come near her again. Then they arranged for an Uber to take her home. It all sounded fine on paper, but when I said, "You know he was about to assault her, right?" one of the officers just shrugged. "There are drunk people all over this city." And then he laughed. I couldn't laugh. All I could think was if I hadn't followed what would have happened to her story 3. I opened our relationship to save our marriage and ended up destroying it myself. I met my husband when I was 22 and married him at 24. He's a wonderful man. Except for one thing, our sex life was never truly in sync. I tried talking about it, tried changing things, but everything felt forced. One day, late December, I had a crazy idea opening our relationship. The reason sounded noble to learn from each other and refresh our love life. We set rules: no emotional attachments, inform each other before dates, and no bringing anyone home. January started and we both received plenty of invitations. I didn't really have any meaningful experiences, but he seemed to relive his youth. He was happy, full of energy, coming home with a smile I hadn't seen in a long time. But that smile wasn't for me. I got jealous. And I thought if we shared an experience, maybe I'd feel connected again. So I proposed a threesome with a woman. At first, he refused, afraid I'd want fairness by having 2 men involved. I said no need. He agreed on the condition that it was completely my idea. In February, we met a 24-year-old woman, cute, confident, and very comfortable in her skin. After dinner, we went back to our place, breaking the very first rule. Things started, and I realized immediately between him and her there was something I had never seen. He was strong, instinctive, like a different person. She responded with moans and giggles like 2 actors performing a steamy scene right in front of me. When he turned to me, everything went back to being awkward as before. I tried, but I felt like a supporting actress in my own bedroom. At one point, she looked at me and smiled a smile I'll never forget. When it was over, I went into the bathroom and turned the water on loud so he couldn't hear me crying. He came in, hugged me from behind, said everything was fine, that this was what I wanted. But from that day on, I no longer wanted to touch him. No more dates, no more romantic dinners. I pushed him away, then blamed myself. He closed the open marriage, apologized many times. But apologies couldn't erase the image I'd seen. And the cruelest truth was, I had opened the door myself, only to realize there was an abyss waiting inside. If you were me in the first story, would you fight for full custody when the other person dares to claim they've been home all day just by standing behind the pool fence that night in New York? Would you have the courage to step in and block the door like the narrator in the second story when the police say we're on our way? And with an open marriage, do you really believe that learning and growing can fix a hole deep in someone's self-respect? Tell me in the comments below, what would you do, what would you choose, and where would you draw the line? If these stories made you angry and strangely satisfied, leave a like, so the algorithm knows you're still here. Subscribe so you don't miss the next true Reddit stories where good people stay brave, villains get exposed, and we learn not to be naive about life anymore. See you in the next episode.